Yo dudes!
Welcome to Hummus 3 Ways.
So we make about a ton of hummus every week and we've been making it for about 15 years and really thought we knew everything there was to make hummus.
Okay, today we have made 3 hummus. We've made an Israeli one, a Lebanese one, and then a modern one, which we did. We've made them all separately. We didn't taste them. We did a blind taste at the end to try to pick the winner. All different processes, different method. So stay to the end to tune in to see which one is the winning one.
So first method we're going to start with is the traditional Israeli method. So this is all based on using dried chickpeas. So take your dried chickpeas, we have 250 grams, and we're going to soak them in water overnight.
So with the Israeli method, we're going to boil our chickpeas first, because when you use tin chickpeas, the husk is very much part of the chickpea. But when you boil them yourself, you've got a chance to take away that husk and make a smoother and creamier hummus.
So here's the chickpeas we soaked overnight. You'll note they've almost doubled in volume. So what we're going to do now is we're going to simply drain and rinse them.
Okay, so we're going to add our soaked chickpeas to a pot. The key to Israeli hummus is to get rid of the skin or the husk on the outside of the chickpea so that you can blend it and make it soft. A great trick is to add a teaspoon of baking soda to 250 grams of dried chickpeas. And what it does is, Stephen just tell you what it does because he knows better than me.
So what it does is baking soda is extremely alkaline, so it actually changes the pH and makes the cellulose in the chickpea skin a lot easier to break down, and where it essentially does the work to remove the chickpea and make it a lot easier to remove.
So we're going to in with 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and we're going to fry with no water, just with the baking soda for 3 minutes while stirring. Okay, so now that we've done that for 3 minutes, we're going to add a decent pinch of salt.
And we're going to go in with our water. We want to cover the chickpeas by at least that amount, because what happens is that often there'll be kind of a foam will arrive. We want room for the chickpea husk to float so we can scoop it off easily. Okay, so these have been boiling for about an hour, and depending on the chickpeas, there'll be foam will appear on the top. And what we're trying to do here is we're trying to scoop off any type of foam just into a bowl and scoop off any of this chickpea husk or skin. This is quite fibrous and will avoid, kind of get in the way of a creamy hummus. Okay, next step, what we're going to do is we're going to soak the chickpeas in cold water and try to remove as much of the chickpea skin and husk as possible. This is like fishing for chickpea skin. So in you go, obviously make sure your hands are clean and just remove as much of the chickpea skin as you can.
If you rub them together, the skin tends to all come off quite easily. So it is like being a chickpea husk fisherman or something. We've got quite a lot of husks or skins off now. So the big thing which we're wondering is this going to be worth the effort? So Israeli hummus, this type of old traditional style, is very time intensive. I really wonder is it going to make that big a difference, but stay tuned and let's find out. Yeah, maybe let's gamify this. Maybe comment below saying which method you think is going to be the best, which hummus is going to be the best, and no skipping ahead.
I'm excited. So Lebanon is a place that I've always idealized, always romanticized. I want to go there on a hummus adventure. So I'm really excited to see if that one wins. Israeli is very time consuming and our method is just delicious. So anyway, back to the Israeli one. So we're going to drain the chickpeas now, and we're going to drain and pop them in the food processor.
Okay, we didn't get rid of all the husks, but we certainly got rid of a whole load of them. So we're going to add them to the food processor.
Okay, next step, what we're going to do is we're going to make a garlic and lemon juice, which kind of avoids the kind of uneven distribution of garlic particles. So take 1 whole head of peeled garlic. Might seem like a ridiculous amount, but bear with us.
We're going to take the juice of 2 lemons.
A little dash of water in with the lemon and garlic.
And we're just going to blend until smooth. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to pour our garlic lemon juice and we're going to pour it through a sieve, and we're going to actually, what we're looking for here is actually the juice rather than the actual physical matter. So we're almost going to come away with the essence of garlic and lemon juice. Okay, next step, in on top of the garlic and lemon infused juice, we're going to go in with 6 to 8 tablespoons of runny tahini. Very important that it's runny tahini.
Kind of in the Middle East, the tahini they tend to use is really runny and just so indulgent. So if you can get it, it's worth finding.
Now we're going to mix 2 runny textures together until they form an emulsion into a steady, consistent paste.
It'll come nice and creamy, so stick with it here. So that's a perfect example of an emulsion I'm genuinely really interested. Like it's real, it's real thick and pasty.
Wow.
Jeez, the garlic is lovely and the lemon, like it's not overpowering.
It's yum.
So here we're going to put in about 3 tablespoons of water just to thin it out a little bit.
And bring it back to more runny texture.
Jeez, it's not overpowering in garlic. Like there's a nice background garlic flavor, but it's not like in your face.
So you want to mix it until it comes together like a thick pancake batter.
So at this stage, if you like cumin or sumac, you could add them in. We're gonna leave this just straight up at the moment.
So we're gonna add this into our chickpeas, into the food processor. Okay, so now we're gonna add about 6 tablespoons of olive oil. Boom.
So that's gonna make it creamier, more indulgent. And finally, we're gonna put in about a teaspoon of salt.
Boom.
Okay, so really take your time to get this really smooth and obviously season to taste.
We've blended that for about 5 minutes until it's super smooth, and we did add another 2 tablespoons of olive oil. So we had 8 to 10 in total.
So what the oil does is it emulsifies and creates this much creamier texture.
Okay, so this is the hard bit. We are not allowed to taste this because this will be a blind taste test.
Okay, so the way typically it would be done in Israel is just make a little small well in the center. Take a handful of reserved chickpeas that we just cooked earlier, pop them in the middle.
And we're gonna take a drizzle of your finest olive oil and add a little bit into the center and a little bit around the outside. Boom.
So now we're gonna move into the Lebanese method of making hummus. And this is a traditional method where it's made pre-food processor. So we're gonna make this in nothing but a pestle and mortar.
This is going old school. Old school against new school.
Yeah. Okay, welcome to the Lebanese method, and as I mentioned earlier, it's made in nothing but a pestle and mortar. So this is the method that was traditionally used pre-food processors. So obviously you may not have one this size, but we have a big pestle and mortar.
Any pestle and mortar works. So this will be very interesting to taste old school versus new school.
Take 1 clove of garlic, ideally a small clove.
Take 1 teaspoon of salt, add it in.
Juice of 1 whole lemon, just squeeze it through your hands to catch any pips. Take your pestle and we're gonna just gently mash it all together. What we want to do is dissolve the salt and make sure the garlic is evenly distributed. There's something so primal about making hummus in a pestle and mortar. Next step, once the salt is dissolved and the garlic has been broken down.
We're now gonna add 250 grams of cooked chickpeas. These are still warm, and what happens when they're warm is they make it much easier to come together with the garlic, lemon juice and salt.
So if you don't have a big kind of mortar like this, just use a large bowl and use your pestle. I think that's the pestle, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so next step, we're gonna add in our tahini. We're gonna go in with about 100 grams of runny tahini again.
Even 120 mil, so you want like kind of almost half the tahini to the chickpea volume. Now we're gonna slowly try to incorporate this together and emulsify it.
Okay, so we have used our pestle and mortar as best we can. This one looks a little bit more bitty.
Yeah, it doesn't look quite as smooth. And obviously we haven't had the oil to emulsify it and create this wonderful creamy texture. However, oil is often added at the end. So take a silicone spatula. Obviously in traditional times, it was a wooden spoon. Okay, so next step, take a spoon. Again, same sort of principle. Create a nice well in the middle. We're gonna take a nice bit of cooked chickpeas for texture. We're gonna take a generous glug. This is where we kind of add our oil. Oil goes in over the chickpeas.
I'm gonna take a nice pinch of ground cumin. Okay, and then finally we're gonna put a little bit of sumac, just a little cross of it across the center of it.
Okay, we make about a ton of hummus each week.
Genuinely.
We use a simple traditional framework. Framework is actually from our new book, where again, we really break down the principles. Can I just show one bit? I was really proud of this. So we break down the hummus, the kind of framework behind hummus. So we go into light, extra thick, creamy hummus, and then we go into kind of creative hummuses where we kind of make guacamole hummus, butterbean, pea and mint. We really show the thing. Anyway, book's available to pre-order, but back to our hummus.
So we're going with 240 grams of cooked chickpeas. We just used a 400 gram drain and rinse them.
2 tablespoons of runny tahini.
We're gonna go in with 4 tablespoons of oil, olive oil, preferably.
2 tablespoons of lemon juice. It's approximately 1 lemon, but it depends. Some lemons are juicier than others. So in this case, this is really juicy, so we went with the juice of half a lemon. Even a little less. Boom.
Okay, we got 1 clove of garlic.
And 1 teaspoon of salt. In it goes. Very simple, very kind of lazy or efficient. Lid on food processor, blend till smooth.
Okay, so we blended that till smooth.
Okay, so this one is slightly more pasty looking. So if I'm comparing all three, the Israeli seems lighter, fluffy, more richer in oil. The Lebanese looks a little bit more pasty, and ours looks kind of pasty too.
Well, it looks like the most tahini based anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the bit which we have certainly waited for. Okay, so I'm gonna blindfold my brother.
Okay. I don't know if this is... We're using an apron as a blindfold. So, yeah.
Okay, so I blinded fold Steve. I'm going to give him
Blinded fold.
I blinded fold Steve. I'm going to put a tablespoon of each one on, and Steve's going to pick his favourite.
And am I to describe it at all or just pick?
Well, even guess which one it is and then rate it out of 10.
Okay.
Okay, tell me which one that is and mark it.
That's the Israeli. That's extremely creamy, extremely light, extremely fluffy. Texture is phenomenal. It needs to be seasoned better. The lemon is very light. Garlic is a bit subtle for me. It's kind of like fluffy, creamy clouds that lack flavour.
Okay, what would you give it out of 10?
About a 6. Ooh. You know, but like the thing to acknowledge here is that the technique is phenomenal. It just needs better seasoning.
Okay, next one.
Wow, that's our one. Pretty salty by comparison. Strong flavoured, full body. I'd add more water to if I was making it, a little more oil, but
What would you give it out of 10?
I'd give it about a 7 because there's a lot more flavour.
So is that ahead of
like
the Israeli one?
Yeah, you know, much.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the absolute opposite of the spectrum. The Israeli one is under seasoned and our one is possibly over seasoned. Our one is a bit like whoosh, 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 in your face.
Okay, last one, and obviously it has to be the Lebanese one.
Guessing,
So
yeah.
this is the simple, well, it could only but be.
Wow, it's thick. It's very tahini-like.
What would you give it out of 10?
Give it a 6.
Oh!
It's not too much. Like, it's very thick, very tahini-like. It's slightly the texture isn't the way I like it. It's a bit. We often used to joke when we'd make hummus in the cafe, and we probably made it for 14 years. We used to joke that, geez, that hummus is so thick, it's like tile grout. You'd stick tiles to the wall, no bother with that. And that one to me is a bit too thick to my palate. But in saying that, the production of hummus is extremely subjective. Each one of these can be massage, changed. The whole idea is that they're about technique.
Let us know which one you like, because obviously the Israeli one was very different method, more subtle. If we'd seasoned it, that's the most smoothest of all.
That's remarkable.
Our one, which was very methodical and much more modern, using the food processor, it's pretty tasty. Steve said he would have had more water to it. And then finally the Lebanese was thicker, more dense, old school, but very interesting technique.
Yeah, all very different. Let us know which is your favourite, which you would pick, and if we kind of missed anything, because we're doing our best as Irish people to interpret Israeli methods, Lebanese methods, and modern methods. So thank you for watching. Big shout out to everyone from Israel and Lebanon for the inspiration, and
let us know how we can make it better.
Cheers!